Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a legend in MMA. He's a multiple champion in the UFC and a star in Hollywood. We have none other than the natural Randy Couture, and he's back on Submission Radio. Randy, happy 2015 and welcome to Submission Radio.
Thanks. Good to be on. How y'all doing?
We're doing really well. It's the kickoff to the year, and, we're happy to have you back on the show. Now, kicking off the interview, how did you see in 2015? Because we had a look at your Twitter, and you had what looked like a very fun night.
I had a great night. Yeah, it was one of my good friends is a country music singer, and he was performing at Treasure Island at Gillies, and this is the second year in a row I've gotten to spend New Year's watching him perform. It was awesome.
Very nice. Now, Randy, a lot of fans in Australia may not know, but you have a movie out called Stretch, which is a great cast and is a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about that and the movie and your experience shooting it.
Well, Joe Carnahan was the director for the movie. Obviously, he's done a lot of really cool things. Movies like Grey with Liam Neeson, and he had a great cast for Stretch. It's kind of a dark comedy. Patrick Wilson did a great job. Had just a ton of fun and funny characters. Chris Pine, and I had a blast on the movie. I played kind of a very incognito Russian limo driver. There's probably a lot of people that won't even recognize me in the movie, but it's the first time I've ever had to smoke a cigarette in a part. And I had 4 days on that movie, and I literally thought I was going to die by the end of the fourth day. It was horrible. But I was like, you guys are going to have to pay me a lot more money to ever smoke another cigarette in my life.
Wow. And was this like an actual real cigarette? It wasn't like prop or make-believe or anything?
No, it wasn't prop or nothing. I wish it was, but it wasn't. And I don't know how anybody does that, to be honest. It damn near killed me.
And now, Randy, another movie we're excited to see you in is Cameron and Eddie Lose the Belt. We haven't been able to see too much information about the plot, but, can you give us a little teaser about what we can expect from this one?
Well, I'm very excited that I don't get the chance to step outside the box very often and do some comedy. And this is definitely going to be a kind of a buddy comedy. A very good friend of mine who's been writing and doing stuff in the industry for years is going to direct the film and has written the film. He writes for Will Smith and Kevin James, and this is his first opportunity to kind of have his own project and have his control of his own destiny, so to speak. Mike Socio is going to write it and direct it. I play a very kind of eccentric, some might say crazy, cage fighter who's a germaphobe, among other things. He hears some voices in his head. He lends his humble abode, his mansion, if you will, to his cousin and his cousin's buddy for the weekend. He's going to do a commercial TV shoot, and they're in town for a Comic-Con type event to promote their comic book. That's their dream. And he, of course, has very strict rules about how to take care of his house and what not to touch and what toilets not to go to the bathroom in, and so on and so forth. And of course, his prized possession is his belt, which is in a camera monitored trophy case in his house. And of course, first thing they promptly do is throw a huge party and the belt goes missing.
Wow.
So these guys have to figure out where the belt went and get it back before I come back after the weekend to my house and find that it's gone and kill them both.
Now, I'm wondering, what your preparation was like for this movie, and is there any similarities? Are you by any chance a germaphobe, and do you have your title belts in, like, camera-monitored rooms?
No similarities whatsoever, which is one of the wonderful things about getting to act, is you get to do and say and be things that you would never be in real life. It's always kind of fun to play the bad guy, to get to do a bunch of nasty stuff and be the bad guy in films. But in this particular instance, I get to be a very eccentric, kind of almost crazy cage fighter. Obviously, the cage fighting thing I think I can handle, but the other stuff is going to be a lot of fun to portray and to tap into and find. I am very particular. I'm one of those guys that is meticulous about where things go, and I think that comes from my 6 years in the Army. Everything kind of has its place, but I don't think not to the extent of being obsessive compulsive about it, but just particular about it.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of the belts there, you'd have a whole bunch of them. Just wondering, where do you keep all your title belts? Is there like a special room where you keep them, or is there like a secret door underneath the house with like a special eye coded thing that scans your face, and there's like a security card, but
Yeah,
then Roy, and you
fingerprint.
say hi
Yeah,
Roy every day?
there's a retina scan to get into there. Yeah, no, they're in my loft. I do have a trophy case for those. They sit in my loft in my office space in my house. No cameras, but they do have their own set of light switches to light them up. But that's about as far as it goes there.
Now, I want to ask you, we've got a few MMA related questions. Before we delve into that, I want to ask you, because a lot of photos surfaced of you dressed, I believe, for Halloween as Chuck Liddell. And at first I thought, oh, was this like something that you bought at the store? And I looked at the shorts. I'm like, those look pretty genuine, like Chuck Liddell shorts. I'm wondering what happened. Did you guys have, you know, another fight behind the scenes that we weren't aware of?
Well, for years since Ultimate Fighter 1, Chuck and I have, we've always been friends and always gotten along. But since being on that first season of the Ultimate Fighter, I get called or asked, "Hey, Chuck," and he gets, "Hey, Randy," because they associate us with the show. "Oh, big fan, can I have an autograph?" And I'm like, I'm not Chuck, I'm Randy. Oh, sorry, man. And we both have gotten that in various places for years. And so I jokingly said, I got to just shave a mohawk in my head and play Chuck Liddell for Halloween this Halloween. And I was sitting with Jay Glazier at the time, and he's like, "Man, let's do that." He called Chuck on the phone, and Chuck said, "Yeah, I got shorts and gloves." He gave me the shorts and the gloves. And I went out, my girlfriend Mindy found a hair piece that we could basically toupee tape on my head to form the mohawk, and voila, we have Chuck Liddell. And it was really funny because then all the media and the TMZ guys, they weren't sure what to call me when I showed up in the Chuck Liddell outfit. They're like, "Randy, Chuck," and they weren't sure what to say. It was pretty funny.
And I think you're setting a bit of a standard now. Everybody is excited to find out which fighter you're going to dress as next Halloween. Don't want to break the news for anyone, but are you going to go down that road? Are you still going to be a fighter, or are you going to go outside the box for next one?
Maybe James Toney.
I don't know. Yeah. It'll be I'm sure it'll be something spontaneous like it was this year. I doubt that it'll be another fighter.
Now, Randy, speaking of other fighters, there's a gentleman at the moment who is receiving some comparisons to yourself, mainly because he's delving into MMA a little bit later on in life. And his name is CM Punk. I'm just wondering, I'm assuming you would have heard CM Punk is now in the UFC, and he basically comes in with like almost zero experience. You obviously had your wrestling background, your boxing background from the Army. I'm just wondering, what do you think of CM Punk in the UFC? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't really know anything about CM Punk. I don't know anything about his athletic background. I don't really watch any of the pro wrestling. Not that would translate, other than the fan base that he probably brings over if they put him in a fight in a pay-per-view. And I'm sure that's the drive behind signing him to a contract is not unlike Brock Lesnar. He brings in a ton of fans from the WWE world. Unlike Brock, I was aware of Brock's athletic background as a collegiate wrestler, and he had some athletic skill to back up being brought in and tossed right in the mix. So I can't really weigh in on what to expect from CM. I guess we'll see. We'll see who they match him up with, and we'll see how he fares and see what kind of skills he brings to the table. I've never seen him in a training environment or anything like that, so it's really hard for me to estimate what his abilities are going to be. I think if they throw him in at the top of the food chain, it's probably going to be a pretty short run for him. If they take care of him and try to take advantage of the fan base that he brings from pro wrestling, then he'll probably get some fairly, a little easier opponents and get a chance to get his feet wet and see where he's at.
I think, yeah, well, what Dana White's basically said, it's going to be a different story to Brock Lesnar, where Brock obviously got, former champions like yourself and Frank Mir, and even Heath Herring. With CM Punk, it's going to be like 0-1 and, low record guys. But I guess the big thing is he's 36, he's coming into MMA, and all he has a background in is basically is a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not like, obviously Hoist Gracie or anyone like that. I guess from your opinion, how hard do you think it is for a person, whether it's him or anyone, to come into MMA at 36 not having, a background in the sport?
Well, I don't know that the age is really a factor. I think he's obviously a reasonably good athlete to be doing what he's been doing. People can say all they want about the pro wrestlers, but those guys are still very physically fit and very good athletes. It may be a show and it may be predetermined outcomes, but it's still an athletic, physical endeavor, what they do. So I don't really have an issue or think that his age is going to be a huge factor. His athletic background certainly is going to determine how quickly he gets up to speed in all the areas of MMA. Obviously, we know that jiu-jitsu alone isn't going to carry you very far. You need to have the other tools in the tool belt, or somebody's going to point it out to you, and it's not very much fun.
Absolutely right, Randy. Or you have to find the fountain of youth, which obviously you have because you look a lot younger than us, and we're about 20 years younger than you. So, Randy, just touching on another issue that we spoke about last time when you were on the program, and that's an MMA union. The big news over the last month has been the lawsuit that the fighters are taking against the UFC. Just wondering, what did you think when you heard the news? Did you think it was something positive?
Well, obviously, I was approached. I've known about the swell of the class action suit coming for 8 or 9 months, and was approached about being involved, and haven't decided one way or the other whether I'm going to throw my name in that hat. I suspect at this point I'm probably not going to. Obviously, I've had my run-ins and my fights with Zuffa since they bought the company over ancillary rights and a lot of the things that are on the table with the class action suit. And I applaud Kung Lee and Nate Corey and John Fitch for being willing to stand up, take the heat, and put themselves on the line for the rights of the fighters that in a lot of cases are getting the raw end, the short end of the stick with regard to the contracts and the way business is being done with the industry leader and promotion in the sport right now, and that's the UFC and Zuffa. So I wasn't surprised. I knew it was coming. I know it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. I think 2015, for a whole bunch of reasons, is going to be a pretty interesting year in mixed martial arts to see what comes of the sport and how the sport adjusts and settles out. I think we've been going through some growing pains, largely because of Zuffa and the UFC and the way that business has been done. It's obviously a global sport now, all over the world, and it's in some ways the market is a little oversaturated. It seems to have lost some of its shine and that special luster that it had back in the day when there was only 6 or 8 pay-per-views a year. I think that the door has been cracked open a little bit by all of these things to allow some of the other promotions like Bellator or World Series of Fighting to grow their brand and to fill that void and to promote and allow a bunch of other fighters to make a living and apply their wares and get sponsors and do a lot of things in the sport of mixed martial arts. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year.
And you mentioning cracking the door open. Do you think this could be an embryonic stage of fighters realizing they can sort of stand up for some of the issues and possibly an MMA union being put together in the future now that fighters are sort of seeing that other fighters are standing up for certain issues and sort of taking it to certain promotions?
Well, the union word's been thrown around a lot. For 6 or 8 years in the sport, I've been approached by many different people about organizing fighters and a union and all those things. And I think that certainly that is a possibility, and precedents will be set if the class action suit in the next 2 or 3 years is successful. Procedures and things that are being done now are going to have to change. The contracts will be be altered, and they won't be so restricting, and it will create an opportunity where the fighters can come together and create a guild or something like that, garner, health insurance, 401k type things, so some of those things that are united for, base pay for certain levels of fighting, all those sorts of things that are kind of the issues right now. That potential is all there through the class action suit and the guys that are standing up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting and to see, obviously, how the lawsuit goes and how it affects MMA in general. Now, the UFC recently, they scrapped the out-of-competition testing in MMA, and the MMA world was shocked when it announced that one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, Jon Jones, tested positive for cocaine out of competition. What did you think when you heard that, especially after the very impressive performance that he put on against Daniel Cormier just over the weekend?
Well, it certainly raises some questions. I'm very familiar with drug testing protocol coming out of the Olympic wrestling that I was akin to, and the out of competition substance list and the in competition substance list is considerably different. I see now that there was a second test done pre-competition that came up negative. That was in the newspaper today, so I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it certainly raises the question. If that second test is true, then I think the commission was doing what they needed to do to make sure that going into that fight on fight night, he was clean. He didn't put himself or Daniel Cormier in any danger. If that second test never happened, then it raises the question what the athletic commission was thinking in allowing a guy that just failed a drug test to continue to compete, and no public statement was made about that failed test. But I understand the difference between an in-competition fight night drug test, and it'd be interesting to see what those test results were when they come back from John's fight night test versus the one he did on December 3rd that was an out-of-competition test. Obviously, still, people want to understand that line. What in competition is the night of the fight. Anything in training camp or before that, or the random tests that happen during the year, those are out of competition. Yes, he's in training camp for that fight, but it's still considered out of competition. He's not competing until fight night. So there's a very fine line there, and those lists vary in what are banned substances and what are not. Regardless, cocaine is an illegal substance, whether it's performance enhancing or not. So it raises a whole bunch of other questions about Jon, and obviously he's volunteered to put himself into rehab, which, good for him. I hope that goes well for him. It's a shame that the reputation and the ability that he brings to the cage is a little bit tarnished now because of this. But it is what it is. He's the one that has to look himself in the mirror and deal with that. It'll be interesting to see what his fight night drug test comes back, if it comes back clean. If it doesn't come back clean, then obviously the commission has no choice but to pursue sanctions against him. Will they go easy on him because he's subjected himself to rehab? That's a question we'll see, I guess, when the results come back.
Yeah, I think what I find interesting about this one is obviously Vanderlei Silva was tested, I guess you could say, out of competition, and he tested positive for I can't remember what he tested positive basically. Now Jon Jones, similar situation. They say out of competition, he tested positive for cocaine, but it's not on the banned substances list. So I mean, I'm of the opinion that what Jon does in his own life is sort of his private thing. But I guess one of the biggest questions surrounding it is obviously, is cocaine a performance enhancing drug? And the general consensus is no. So do you think it's as bad as, say, taking a steroid or something along those lines?
Well, obviously, whether or not it's performance enhancing is another definition and thing that needs to be understood. But let's make it clear: we're in a combative sport where pain and getting hit and all those certain things and being able to endure those better are a factor in fights. That's why it is a banned substance on fight night, because if he's numbed up and in a different state of mind from cocaine to handle the pain and everything that we go through as fighters, then he's enhancing his performance. Now, is that the case, and is that what was going on during training camp? Did he have, issues, injuries, and things that were going on that he was trying to trying to alleviate some of that pain and endure that to get through camp. I don't know those answers, but that's the kind of the distinguishing thing between in competition and out of competition, and what you can do in your training and in your regular life versus what you can do on fight night. And so in some ways, cocaine or those types of drugs that have that numbing effect are banned in competition.
Speaking of fight night, he had a very, very impressive performance against Daniel Cormier. We spoke about your predictions for the fight, sort of leading into it last time you were on the show. What did you think of the fight? Because it was a real barn burner, and a lot of people really, really enjoyed the fight. What did you think of it?
I liked the fight. I thought it was a good fight. I thought Jon did a great job of shutting down Daniel's wrestling. I thought Daniel could have implemented his wrestling, or at least attempted and faked and created the illusion that he was going to try to wrestle Jon more, which would have set up some of his effective striking better. But overall, I thought it was an entertaining fight, and both guys competed well. Obviously, I thought that Cormier was going to do. I've never seen anybody throw Dan Henderson around like Daniel did, and obviously there's a size difference between Dan and Jon, but Daniel Cormier is an amazing wrestler, and I thought that would be the difference in the fight. But Jon did a great job of mitigating that difference in ability in wrestling and keeping the fight where he needed to keep it to control the fight. I had it 4-1 for Jon. So, overall it was a good fight. I had 3 guys fighting on the card that night, so I definitely tuned in to watch Brad Tavares and Evan Dunham and Josh Berkman compete, and they all did stellar jobs in their competitions. So it was a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Randy, I've got some fun questions for you. The Submission Radio Tap Out round. A bunch of fun questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind, like word association. Are you ready?
Yeah, let it rip.
All right. As an experienced dancer from Dancing with the Stars, did you see Ben Rothwell's victory dance against Overeem? And what score would you give it out of 5 if you were a judge?
Well, I think it lacks substance as a paso dobles, and therefore probably a 1.
Oh, wow.
Now, Randy, can you give us any insight about when Ryan's going to be fighting next? Because it's been a little while, and we're excited to see him back in the cage.
Ryan got married in October. We tried to get him on the January card, but it was already full. He is signed to fight on the 27th of March in Thackerville, Oklahoma, on the Bellator that night. So you will see him again on Spike TV on the 27th of March. And I cannot remember his opponent's name right now.
That's all right. Well, we'll be watching, and congratulations to Ryan. Now, we've mentioned Steven Seagal in the past with you. Sensei Steven Seagal showed Daniel Cormier some secret, never-before-seen techniques going into this fight with Jon Jones. Seagal said that each one of these techniques alone could finish the fight, yet DC didn't use any of them during the fight. Did you think that DC was too scared to unleash the true powers that Steven Seagal taught him?
Shoot, I don't know why Daniel didn't try that front kick. That seemed to work.
Yeah.
Now, Randy, give us your New Year's Eve resolutions for 2015. Give us 1 or 2.
Oh man, I really didn't make any resolutions. I have never really had or felt the need to make a resolution. I'm excited about developing Cameron and Eddie and being, not only being an actor, but getting involved in the producing side of things. We're developing a television series as well on that side of things that will definitely make a splash in the wrestling and MMA world. But it's too early to talk about that yet. But I really didn't make any resolutions. I pinch myself on a regular basis that I get to live this life and do the things I get to do and meet the people I get to meet, and I'm just happy. It's that simple.
I think when life is going well, you don't really have the need for resolutions. You kind of like keep doing what you're doing, and everything will be good. Now, Randy, Gym Rescue was an awesome show. When is it coming, or is it coming back anytime soon?
Unfortunately, no. Viacom and Spike TV decided to not do any subsequent seasons of Gym Rescue Fight Master. So they especially the Gym Rescue show, it got good ratings. It was their number one show on that Sunday nights that it aired. But networks are consistently trying to change their image a little bit, and I think Spike is trying to do a little more original programming and scripted type shows, develop some of those type of shows like a Breaking Bad or something like that. And they have strong contenders in the reality space with Bar Rescue and Ink Master. So to throw another show like Gym Rescue on the reality lineup for them, I think it just didn't make sense, even as successful as it was.
Now, Randy, Sylvester Stallone at the premiere of Expendables 3 said that if a fourth movie happens, it will definitely be R-rated. This got us thinking that your character, Tolroyd, might be getting a love interest. So if you could choose one actress to reprise such a role, who would you choose?
Oh, gosh, easy. Charlize Theron.
Nice.
Why? Why Charlize?
I just think she's amazingly talented. She's certainly not hard to look at. I've respected her work for a long, long time. With like The Italian Job and some of the other stuff that's on the edge of action, she's done some of that. I think she'd be amazing. Yeah,
she was amazing in Monster. That was crazy to realize it was even her. Now, fans in this part of the world may not know, you have your own cologne, Extreme Couture, which is great. Fans need to check it out. Did you ever think that your name would be on a cologne bottle?
No, but I've found my name in a whole bunch of places I never thought it would be.
Like what?
Well, on the front of a building, at a gym, on T-shirts, with the clothing line. Certainly the cologne is an extension of kind of the fashion and clothing line, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It took me a year to kind of develop the cologne, the scent that we came out with, and everybody jokingly says, "Oh, does it smell like your gym?" I'm like, no, it kind of counters that. If you come out of my gym smelling like that, you need to spray some of that on.
That's it, Randy. Now, speaking of that, the Submission Radio marketing department actually didn't celebrate Christmas or New Year in 2014, and were locked into a heated room to come up with some product ideas for the Couture brand in 2015. And we'd like you to choose your favorite idea out of the following three, okay? So
okay.
The first one is the Randy Couture Signature Scarf Series for gentlemen. It's 100% pure wool and cotton fibers, mean it can also be used to choke a man unconscious if the need arises. And also they're machine wash friendly. So that's number one. Number two, not everybody has a door these days, Randy. So we came up with a Randy Couture shower gym system. This gym is set up in the shower, meaning people are able to work out while cleaning off the sweat at the same time. The adjustable shampoo lets you load up any of your favorite shampoos, and it comes in a steel box, which is perfect to use for packing picnics. The tagline is, you have a shower, you have a gym. Okay, now hold your preference till you hear the third one. The third one is, Randy, the Randy Couture Signature Hat with a secret compartment to hide your blade and candy in case you get hungry. The Extreme Hattour is SPF 30 plus, is lightweight, and comes in a steel box, which is perfect to use for packing picnics. Now, Randy, which one of these billion-dollar ideas, and I do mean billion, they didn't see their families over the holiday season, do you choose?
Well, I had a couple questions. Does the shower gym, does that stretch your willy too? Will that make that any bigger?
We're going to keep that for the following.
Will there be a special pocket in the hat for condoms? And I think of all those three, I like the scarf idea the best.
Wow, the scarf of all of them. Well, with the hat, it's just a prototype, but we can definitely put in a compartment for condoms. And with the shower gym system, it really is just for work.
Safe sex. It just has to be done.
Yeah, and with the shower gym system, it doesn't stretch your willy, but maybe we'll make a sequel or maybe a side system.
Yeah, that's right. We want to do we want to do the infomercial as seen on TV, and when you stretch the willy out, sometimes it's difficult to get on the box. Me and Cass have been trying to get on the box doing that for a while, and it's tough here in Australia to do that on the box.
Those big blurry spots or big black spots in your commercials are really annoying anyway.
Guys, make sure to check out Randy on Twitter. I believe it is at Randy Couture, and obviously check out these awesome movies that are coming out. Cameron and Eddie Lose the Belt, and of course Stretch. Randy, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.